Welcome back to the Build Show. God, that was loud. I'm your host, Ben Estrino, over here at the Empower Gaming Studio, and today we're building another PC. Welcome to the Build Show, Ant-Man. Welcome to the Build Show, Onra. Glad you all could make it. This is what we have been brought today. Ethan actually brought this over and said, Ben, can you build this for me? So that's what we're doing. So Ethan actually picked out all of his parts, picked them up, brought them over here, and is just doing the build fee to build it. So here we are, building his PC. He dropped these off actually today. So instead of doing an inventory build, we're gonna do Ethan's build. Hey, what's up, Kenneth? Welcome back to the Build Show, sir. Welcome back. But let's go through the parts. So I don't have an invoice. I don't have a parts list. We're just we're freestyling tonight. Let's see what he brought us. So first off, does it feel like the music's a little loud, or is it just me? Ethan, hey, what's up, man? Welcome to the Build Show. Today we're building in a plain white tee because it's Friday, and who actually cares? All right, so we've got a Ryzen 7 9700X that we're going to be building with. That is what Ethan picked out. I believe he got this in a bundle over at Micro Center with the B650 Gaming X AX V2, along with 32 gigs of DDR5 6000 megahertz RAM, which is the Corsair Vengeance RGB. I'm pretty sure these are both AMD Expo and Intel XMP certified kits now. Hey, Kenneth, thank you. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you, sir. So this should work perfectly fine with the board and the CPU. Next up is we do have two SSDs. He did pick out a 500 gigabyte Crucial P3 Plus for his OS drive. So pretty neat to see that he went to the level of detail by picking out an OS drive and a game drive, two separate drives. And the second drive is a Platinum P41 SSD, which is SK Hynix. It's a 2 terabyte SSD. I don't know if that's the right pricing on the price tag. Seems a little steep for the SSD. I doubt that's what he actually paid for it. I hope he didn't. Next up, because of the GPU shortage, it's impossible to find GPUs, as he found out when he went to Micro Center. They had nothing other than maybe an RX 6600. That was maybe the best card in stock. So he did get a RTX 3070 used, I believe probably on Marketplace, and this is by EVGA. So I believe this is for the Win 3, yes. It is a For the Win 3 card. You know, we're still sad to see EVGA go, but it was $130. Yeah, definitely should not have been $179. It would have been a little steep for that price, but $130 sounds a little bit more in the right ballpark there. But this is a great option. So we'll be using this card that he got, since we can't find any other cards anywhere else. It's kind of what you have to do these days to get a graphics card. So it's a great card still. I'm actually still running a 3070 Ti in my rig, and I still enjoy it. Still does everything I tell it to do. Next, we're going to be cooling the CPU with a Kraken 240 by NZXT, which is the RGB version. And then we also have a MSI MAG A850. It's really hard to see if that's a B or an 8. But an A850GL. I should have known. Sorry. But it's an 850 watt power supply with PCIe 5.0 and ATX 3.0, so, or 3.1 and 5.1. Both of those are good things because when he's ready to go upgrade his graphics card later down the road, his power supply will be ready for the newer cards. So it's a great option on the power supply. The case that we're going to be building in is the NZXT H5 Flow. Sorry, H5 Elite. No, it is a H5 Flow RGB. My mistake. Sometimes I try. All right, so let's get started. We're going to go ahead and start with the CPU on the motherboard, as well as the RAM and the SSDs. And then we might get the hardware out of the cooler box and get that mounted on the motherboard. And then we'll drop the board into the case and go from there. Basically, after that, it's just a power supply, a cooler, and a graphics card installed. But, you know, it takes time to do all these things. So let's get started. I'm going to set the card over here. And we'll get started by getting the board out. And this is all the hardware that comes with the board. Really, the only thing that we're really going to need out of this is going to be our M.2 screws. And that's if we need them. But I've got 2 of them here for the 2 SSDs. The rest of this, really not going to need. You will need these if you're going to use Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. These will just screw into the back of the computer once you get that all set up. But all right, moving forward. I could tell that Micro Center didn't check the pins because that was definitely not open before. Generally, Micro Center will do a pin check on any of the LGA boards they sell. So they must have been busy trying to get you out the door. So they're supposed to do that. They'll open it up and actually go to this level, open it up, and check to see if there's any bent pins in the socket. Because they do not accept returns if there is a bent pin there. So it's very important, especially if Micro Center offers it. Champy, I actually did not update the stats. If you give me 1 second, I should actually do that. Drop the CPU in here and update the stats. But it's a Ryzen 7 9700X, 32 gigs of Corsair RAM. We've got a 500 gigabyte and a 2 terabyte, 2 separate SSDs that we're installing. And we also have a RTX 3070 that we're installing with a Kraken 240 addressable RGB cooler in a NZXT H5 Airflow RGB case with an 850 watt 80 plus gold power supply. Pretty sure it's gold. Yes. Here. We can zoom in on this. There. So you can see there's like a bazillion little pins there. You don't want to have one that's bent. Is GeForce Now worth it? GeForce is always worth it. But GeForce Now? I don't know. I've never actually tried it, Ant-Man, so I couldn't tell you. I'm going to try to save all the boxes for you, Ethan, because I don't know if you want to keep the boxes or not. Okay, so we've got the CPU in the socket. I'm just going to close the lid, drop this down. Plastic pops off. I'm also going to save that for you. If you ever have to return the board for some reason, you can do so. Next, we're going to install our RAM. We're going to be putting this in slots A2 and B2, which are the 2 clips that I'm dropping here. With DDR5, just a reminder, DDR5 does not play well with 4 sticks, so you do want to stay with just the 2. If you could do that. Yes, please. What GPU? You have Champy, and hello to you. Hello, welcome to the Build Show. It was a 4080 Super and 16-core CPU rig you can use through the clouds. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what it would be like. My only fear of GeForce Now is input lag. It's the only thing I could think of. $19 a month for 400 every 6 months? That's pretty good. But you have to have some pretty quick internet to actually use that, in my opinion. And even the fastest isn't instant. Alright, so next up we're going to be doing the Crucial SSD install. This is the 500 gig, and then we're going to be doing the 2 terabyte. I'm going to put the 500 gig in the top. Hold on, let me read on this drive. Hey JMO, welcome back to the Build Show. I am mostly on time today. Is that a 9700X? Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is. You are 100% correct. It's a 9700X that we're going to be installing. We've also got 2 SSDs. One's a Crucial 500 gig, and one's an SK Hynix 2 terabyte. So we got a boot drive, or an OS drive, and then we also have a game drive for those who game. Hey Mike, what's up Mike Thompson? Welcome back to the Build Show. Mr. 2 sorta on the time. I actually started early compared to like all the most recent streams, so we started pretty early tonight, right? All things considered, I'm early. Caught everybody by surprise. What? Ben's early? Technically, it's like around the time that I was supposed to normally start. Alright, we're going to do the Crucial in the top slot. And then we're going to do the SK Hynix probably in one of the bottoms down here. The 2 terabytes. Here we are. Now with that SSD, CPU, and RAM installed, we're going to go ahead and get our NZXT Kraken 240 out. We're going to get up mounting hardware and just see if there's any mounting hardware that we have to add. Hey, what's up, Tat? Tutuna, welcome back to the Build Show. You made it? How is everyone tonight? I think everybody's doing pretty good. Let's see here. What is your opinion on the 50 series paper launch? I think it's I think it messed up a lot of people's plans. That's what I think. Not so cool of NVIDIA to do it the way they did. I hope AMD kind of just, you know, steals the show with their upcoming launch. I think it's like in a week, on 9070, or just a few days out. Who needs a 50 series anyway? Seriously, right? Yeah, the people that still don't have a computer, that are looking to get into computer gaming, you know, get to a gaming PC, those are the people that need a card. And they can't buy a 4000 series and they can't buy a 5000 series, so you're just screwed. You can buy a RX 6600 all day, but that's it. That's what you're limited to, or you just go to the used market like Ethan did here. Shop around. Do I think it'll need a GPU support bracket, Ethan? Yes, that 970 is pretty heavy, and I do have support brackets here. They're like, I think 12 bucks. So I'll show you which one I have. These right here do a really good job. This is a GB002. What it is it's a bracket that actually attaches to the side of the motherboard here and screws directly into the case and has a little lip that provides support on the sagging end of the card. So it'll support it pretty well. It's very low profile, very hidden, but does a really good job holding the card up. So we'll add that. I think this is like 12 bucks at Micro Center or something like that. So we'll add it to the build if you're worried about it. I have an RTX 47 Super, yes. And it's in... yeah, you're good right now. You don't have anything to worry about, Kenneth. If you don't want to go get, you know, the newest, latest, greatest, you're fine on the 4070 Super. It's going to be good for you for a good couple of years. That's one thing they did right. The 2-slot GPU. Yeah. Yeah, they did. Melt prevention. Yeah. I don't want a campfire that ends in explosions. Well, I don't think they really explode. I think they just... they burn like a coal, basically. I don't know that it's open flame. You know? It's not a Burger King or Wendy's with open flame on your burger. It's like just a coal grill, you know? Yes, the pre-builds are selling out because of the shortage, correct? And if you are ordering PCs from pre-build companies, you're likely going to be on a wait list. That has in the past put some pre-build companies out of they went bankrupt because of it. They got so far ahead that they couldn't fall back to behind because the prices of cards kept increasing. So they sold the build based on the price of the card that was like 6 months before. And then when they went to go buy cards, everything was like $200 or $300 more at the time. So everything was more expensive. So they ended up going bankrupt. They went out of business. A couple of companies had that happen. So I'm always very, I don't want to do any like pre-orders or anything like that. If I can't get it, then we're not getting it. Or if I can't get it within a certain amount of time, then we're readjusting. But there's a time frame, it has to happen. That's the one I was looking at. Thank you. Oh yes, yep. Yeah, I've got a few of them here because that happens actually a lot. People bring me builds and they're like, here's my 4090, I'm no bracket. We should probably put a bracket on there. So I usually have those on hand. That's the one. Yep. 9070 XT equals 5070 Ti for $599. Actually, I thought it was $550 and $500 for the 9070 non-XT. My friend is on a wait list? Yeah, I believe it. Kenneth, why didn't you tell your friend to come over here? I ship PCs, you know. We could have gotten them hooked up. We would have figured it out. Alright, we're getting the cooler out with all of its hardware. Oh boy. I love NZXT because they're always so methodical when it comes to their hardware. Alright, let's go ahead and get this hardware on this board. So we need to mount the hardware here so that we can mount the cooler to the CPU. And I typically prefer to do that outside of the case because it just makes things easier. Looks like that is going to be our AMD bracket here. All right. We've got our mounting hardware ready to go. I did, Ben. He wants a pre-built. I said you first. Nice. I still think AMD clutched up. Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. Thank you for that additional super chat, Kenneth. Much appreciated. Starting to look at both companies with a side eye. Hey, what's up, young Joe? Welcome back to the Build Show, sir. Hello, respected PC builder guy. I have a question. Yeah, what's up? Welcome to the Build Show. What's your question? I made the mistake of buying DDR5 RAM that isn't fully compatible with my Z790GB motherboard. My 5200 MHz RAM only runs at 4800 because enabling XMP prevents the system from booting. Yes, DDR5 issues. If I replace it with compatible RAM that runs at 6000 megahertz, what kind of performance improvement should I expect, if any? So, noticeable performance improvement, meh, not much, maybe a couple of FPS. But what I would try doing is making sure, if you haven't already, update the BIOS for your Z790 gigabyte motherboard and see if that changes your XMP issue with that 5200 megahertz RAM. A lot of BIOS updates have solved a lot of RAM issues with DDR5, especially within the last like 6 months or so. So definitely, and also, if you're running an Intel processor on a Z790 or Z690 and it's a 14th or 13th gen processor, please make sure you also, good, BIOS is fully updated. Make sure you update your BIOS if you're running either of those CPUs. For anybody else, because those CPUs are they've got a couple of issues with past versions of BIOS, so make sure you do those BIOS updates. But that's good. It sounds like you've already done the BIOS update, so that sounds like it's more of a RAM issue. So yeah, I got all them issues. I'm sorry. I mean, that could also be part of the issue, is the CPU, because your memory controller is on the CPU, but I would try another 6000 kit that's Intel XMP certified. So for example, on the Gigabyte motherboard, the G.Skill Trident Z5 kit, not the Neo, but the non-Neo, so just the G.Skill Trident Z5. They have like an RGB version as well if you want RGB. But that's a really good kit at 6000 megahertz. Just make sure it's Intel XMP certified. You can also go on the board, the motherboard's website, support site, and check the QVL list to make sure that the kit of RAM is in there. Or you can look at the list and then just go buy a kit based off of that list. And then you know for sure it is a kit that is fully supported by the motherboard. So that's what I advise people typically to do if you are having any issues with the DDR5. Just go make sure you go get a kit that's supported by your motherboard. Even RMA the RAM? Yeah, so it's just a compatibility issue at that point. Yeah. Definitely get a instead. Yeah, I mean, those aren't cheap though. I mean, that's a pretty expensive swap out, JMO. Although, totally would do that. Hey, what's up, King Canada? Welcome to the Build Show. Was a 7900 XT a bad purchase, considering I could either get a 4090 or a 9800 X3D new combo, RAM, etc., and a 7900 XT? I mean, if you could get a 4090 and you want that, but I mean, the 7900 XT is a really good card. Young Joe, that is the last build that is incorrect information, because like I told you, this would happen. I did not update it. I should go fix that right now. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to fix this real quick. What do you mean? Who's in danger? You're fired? Thank you, Young Joe. I corrected it, so now if you use the command !build in the chat, it will spit out the right specs, unless I have a typo there. Big W. Whoops! Who's actually judging me anyway? Yeah, 100% was looking at the Z5 kit. Yeah, I've had a lot of success with them, so I would recommend that. Thank you for taking the time for my question. You're welcome. Much appreciated. Sorry for taking you off the build. No, no worries, man. It's what we do. Sean? I've seen Sean. Abel, welcome to the build show. Sean, welcome to the build show. Wait, we already said that. Where am I? I don't even know. I walked away from chat. I don't even know where I am in the chat anymore. So forget it. He mostly does streams, but he does. This guy seems to know his shit. I'll check out his videos. Yeah, I know. I mostly just do the live streams. It's where a lot of people get value. They just come in here and ask me questions. And then I build people's PCs for them. They get to watch it. It's pretty cool. Like Ethan, for example, who's here in the chat somewhere, watching me build his PC. What am I smoking? I don't know. A vape. It's watermelon mint. That's what I'm smoking. I get antsy. I used to smoke cigarettes. I quit the cigarettes a while back. But I still vape. Eventually I'll get rid of that too. Getting to that point where I'm ready just to put it down and never bring it back. Thank you for the subscribe. What's up? Appreciate you, Sean. No. No, I don't do any of that. Alright, so now that we've got our hardware here on the board, we've got our SSDs installed, our CPU and a RAM, we can go ahead and probably get the case out and start mounting things to the case. Throw the motherboard in there first. Yes. Yes, Ethan, I will throw your motherboard into the case. The only proper way to install a board. Camera wasn't centered up. I had to fix it. I must have whacked it with my head. Yeah. Here is a NZXT wonderful to have a piece of styrofoam there. NZXT H5 Flow RGB. This case always throws me for a loop because look at the bottom of it. It's got this little like lip here for more ventilation, which is cool. Yeah. At some point we'll probably do something like that, Young Joe. Alright, so we're going to take the glass off. We're going to take the back panel off. We're going to take the top panel off. You know what? We're just going to take all the panels off and save everybody trouble here. So my biggest complaint with the original H510, I think that's what it was back then, was the airflow. And then they came back and did these. They're a lot nicer. Though, you will not see me build a lot with NZXT. I don't typically build a ton with their products. And it's primarily because I've just never been a fan of them. Them as a company. I don't like how they force you to use like only their RGB fans. I know Lian Li does that too, and Corsair and Thermaltake, they all do the same thing. This all proprietary crap. But NZXT is just really weird about it. You get their hub, and then you try to plug in multiple fans into the hub, and they seriously limit how many fans can be plugged into the hub. And it makes it a big pain in the butt, because then you have to go buy another like $50 or $60 hub if you have more fans, which is stupid expensive. The hub should be able to handle a case, especially their case, like the, you know, H9 Flow or the H9 Elite. You know, it has to support up to 9 fans, 10 fans. But their hubs only support like 3 or 4 or 6 or something like that. I can't remember. Anyway, that turned me off from NZXT back when I've ran into that problem before. And I never really went back to them. Never wanted to. But every now and then I do get to build with them. Most of the time, you know, their cases are quality. Their coolers are really nice, but I just don't like how proprietary they are about everything. And it's because they're their own company. They make their own PCs, they make their own stuff, so that they're slowly turning into Dell is basically what it is that's what I view them as. Strip it down. Yeah, we did. We got it down to the bare bones. Almost. I mean, there's probably a lot more we could take off if we wanted to. What's the price for everything? Ethan can answer that question. He actually bought all the parts and brought it over here for me to build. So he ran around and picked up all the parts from Micro Center and probably met somebody in a dark alley for the RTX 3070. You know, did a GPU deal. You know, big trench coat. Hey man, you want to buy some GPUs? Good. All right, he has another question. I'm using a Gigabyte Z790 Master with 4 M.2 NVMe drives installed. I can't make sense of the manual regarding M.2 slots. Disabling SATA ports, I want to add more SSDs. So typically, yes. Typically when you fill out the PCIe lanes, which is your M.2 slots or your PCI slots or your SATA ports, the prioritization is going to be your M.2 slots. So if you fill that out, typically what will happen is it will disable a percentage or a couple of your SATA ports. So some of those may not work. Usually it's from, you know, if you have SATA ports 0 through 6 as an example, or 0 through 5 or whatever it might be. Usually it starts on 6 and starts disabling from there and works its way up. So usually 0 and 1 would always work, typically. Now that might be different on, you know, different boards, so refer to your manual is exactly what I would tell you to do. Am I say able? Yeah, you should still be able to, because there should at least be a couple of the SATA ports available, even with it being full. So your limitations are probably it disables a couple of your a couple of your SATA ports. If you have like 4 or 6, it probably disabled 2 of them. But you'll have to look at the manual. Just says using an M.2 slot might disable SATA ports 1 and 2. Another M.2 slot might disable SATA ports 5 and 6. I hate the term of might. Well, might be because it's depends on if it's PCIe 4 or PCIe 3 that you're running in the slots. That might be determining factor of whether or not it gets disabled, because that's Gen 4 uses way more bandwidth than Gen 3. So it might be based on the generation of SSD that you throw in there. That might determine it. Yeah. Wow, I sounded smart for 5 seconds. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, and let's put a motherboard in the case. You know what was really nice, Ethan, is that you brought me a case with all the fans in it, so I don't have to install fans or deal with twist ties. That was very nice of you, very thoughtful. I appreciate that. I have no idea which screws go where. This is another complaint about NZXT, is they don't use the standard screw. Here's more of their proprietary crap. Nothing against you, Ethan, or NZXT. It's just my beef against NZXT. These are going to be the screws that I think we use for the motherboard, but I'm not sure. Because they don't use your standard screw. They have to be special and use their own style of screw. I guessed, and I guessed right, and that was based off of my experience. I have a NAS set up with a... Hold on. With an old rusty spinning drive. Oh, yeah. Nice case. You're working with... Yeah. Oh, oof. How much storage do you need, bruh? Yeah. 42... What? NASA? What is that? 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 42,069 terabytes. What would that be in gigabytes? Might swap out... What would that be in kilobytes? Might swap out some of the 2 terabyte NVMEs for 4 terabyte and just call it good. Yeah, you could do that. That's another solution to the problem. I don't know how far along you are in the build, or if you've ran them or not, but... Go to bed? You're sitting on a bunch of pine cones. Tiny ones. Dude. Yeah, you're naked. Get off the camera. Ellie? Good night. Love you. All right. LTT screwdriver. Yeah, it's from lttstore.com. I originally bought the screwdriver just to see if I can break it at this point, and it's still going strong after about, what is it? We're at like 70 builds now. Still going, no problems. It's pretty impressive. So I can actually recommend the screwdriver. It lasts. And it's kind of grown on me. You know, at first I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this thing. It's grown on me. I like it. Screwing a screw into wherever you're screwing has never been so satisfying. Yes, I gathered the 42069 just wasn't gonna. I was not going to feed the fire. Nah, build is done, but a builder is never done. If you know what I mean. Yeah. My build's never done either. It's just always mangled into a bazillion pieces over here. Or it looks like I haven't cleaned it in 3 years. But, you know, it's for the content. All right, so we've got our motherboard mounted and our 8 screws, because the center screw is just a little peg. So we're going to now get our front panel connections done. And then we're probably going to put a power supply in so we can tackle the EPS cables up here in the top corner. So when we do mount an AIO, it's not in our way to the point where we can't even get to our EPS cable. So we're going to do the front panel connections, and then we will put the power supply in. We can tackle that. EPS cable. Got an HD audio. Front panel. And then here we go. A fan. And an RGB connection. Which makes 0 sense here. Ah. We're gonna probably connect this here, I hope it lets me. I don't think it's going to. One, two, three. It only has 3 ports and we have 3 fans. This, that, and that. I don't know, we'll see. I'm gonna leave that for last. We'll deal with that when we deal with it. Here we go. Front panel's done. Have fun chatting, Ben. You're gonna dip? All right, man. Have a good night, sir. Thanks for stopping in. Definitely will start playing those ones I couldn't before. Nice. Hey, Roach, what's up? Welcome to the Build Show, sir. My name's Donald. I just ordered a PC. I don't want to miss the live when you're going to build mine. Don't worry, man. This is Ethan's build tonight. I will be pinging you if you did order a PC from us. And you will get a notification before we go live. So at least you have a little bit of a heads up there. Good question, James. I was about to ask Ethan that. That is a good question. Good question. All right. So now that we've got this done, let's go ahead and slap a power supply in here so that we can get those EPS cables in. Or we could actually just use the, I believe this is a modular power supply, so we could just get the cables in there. Might do that. Now, I typically like to put all the cables in here so you guys can't accidentally throw them out. A lot of customers like to accidentally throw out their power supply cables when I don't, as we've seen in recent streams. So, what we're going to do is put all the cables on the power supply and stuff them under there. That's right. Cool, thanks, I'll tune in. Yeah. Yeah, I'll give you a heads up on it, man. You will get a notification. Boing. I had a feeling there was twist ties in this build. I could feel it. I just didn't know where they were until I found the power supply. So much fun. Twist ties. So we'll get these power cables plugged in, and then we'll be able to start putting the cooler in. Then once we get the cooler installed, then it's pretty much home free. All right. FYI, glad I caught this. I always forget to do this in an H5 flow. You want the power supply flipped around so that the fan's facing up, because there's no ventilation on the bottom of this case. If you don't do that, you're gonna fry your power supply. What's up, Jesse? Welcome back to the Build Show, sir. Woo! So here's our 2 EPS cables that we're going to be setting up here to the top of the build. We can get those plugged in before we put the cooler in. Who wants to deal with that? I sure don't. And then I'm just going to do the 24 pin while I'm there. Flip this bad boy around. Pin. 8-pin EPS, and then a secondary 4-pin. Just gonna plug it in like the secondary 8-pin. Feel it. There we go. So there's our EPS cables plugged in. Next thing I'm going to do is take a look at our little hub connections here. Make sure we don't need to plug anything up here at the top of the motherboard. If we do, I'd rather do it now instead of later. Which I'm pretty sure the only thing we have to plug in is a pump header. And then a USB. Okay. Quit being a jerk about this whole smokes. Okay, so now that that's plugged in, you can go ahead and mount the cooler. Before we do that, we have to put our fans on there. So we're going to put the cooler in like so. Hose is facing the front, and then we want the fans, the cables on this side of the cooler. We want all our fans on this side. Cables anyway, we want on that side. More twist ties. NZXT might be worse than Thermalright. When it comes to twist ties anyway. Joe, hey everyone, I finished my AIM-5 build today, Monday. Oh, nice. That's awesome. No contact frame for this build? No, sir. These parts were purchased by the customer, Ethan, and he brought them over here, and he's just paying me the build fee to do the build. We're just doing the build based off of what he brought. And I don't have any AIM-5 contact frames sitting here right now, other than the ones that are all accounted for builds. So, I could steal one if we had to, but it'll be alright. It's not a requirement, it's just... Hey, what's up, Bazooka Builders? Welcome back to the Build Show, sir. Welcome back. What's a contact frame? So a contact frame is what replaces... Here. The contact frame would replace the silver lining around the CPU here. If you look back at my last build stream, you would see what a contact frame is when I'm doing the CPU install. Basically, we replace that with a black frame that goes over the top and holds the CPU in. For AMD, it's not as big of a deal, but for Intel, especially the LGA 1700, it was kind of a big deal, and actually on the newer socket as well by Intel. But it's not that big of a deal with AM5. Usually I do it just because I don't like, or I do like, the fact that it keeps the thermal paste out of these little notches here on the CPU, so it really helps with that. But I mean, it's not that big of a deal. One thing I did notice, unless it's somewhere else, or I actually did not see any thermal paste with this cooler. Unless it's on the bottom. Yeah, it is. You got the little P-dot thing. Alright, but that's what a contact frame is. All it does is hold the CPU and keeps it from bending or fluctuating when you apply pressure. It keeps it flat. And the flatter it is, the better contact you'll have on the cooler, and the better contact you have from the cooler, the better cooling you'll have. I love them. I use contact frames in all bundle or builds. Yeah, I mean, I typically do use them, but this was, again, Ethan brought this over to me, so we're working with what we got here. You can always go back and add it later if you wanted to, or have me do it later. I just don't have one available. And the ones at Micro Center, because that's where you went, they're like $40. They're the Thermal Grizzly ones. And those are like $40 versus the ones like from Thermalright, they're, you know, $6 to $10. All right, so we have the fans situated so that they're exhaust. We just need to make sure our cables get to the back. The back side of the case, yeah? There. Now I am going to pull this towards the back. We want this towards the back of the case. So it pulls the airflow across everything else. Get out. Just going to put the one here to hold on to it for a second because we have washers. Another lovely thing I love about NZXT. They sure like washers. Okay, that just happened. Screw the washers in. Hey Dogwater, welcome to the build show, sir. Or welcome back. Do you know if there is such a thing as a printer splitter for Ethernet printers? Printer splitter for Ethernet printers. Like Windows tells one printer to print and it prints to two printers? No, I've never heard of that before. I have one of your PCs. Nice. I don't think that exists. I'm trying to think. I've never heard of that. I'm sure maybe there's some sort of application out there for USB, but I'm not familiar with something on the Ethernet. USB would be more likely. Hey, what's up? Hey, mate, how are you doing? I'm doing pretty good, man. How about you? Welcome back to the Build Show. Hey, Flo. Welcome to the Build Show. Are these specs good? Ryzen 7 9700X, 3.8 gigahertz, 5.5 turbo, or max boost. NVIDIA RTX 4070, 12 gigs, 1 terabyte SSD, 32 gigs DDR5, and a 750 watt power supply. I mean, the specs are good. I'd say, depending on what games you are running, you might want to consider a 2 terabyte SSD. Because if you think about it, a lot of games today, they are super, super big. So 1 terabyte just, you know, depending on how many games you install. So 1 terabyte just doesn't cut it anymore today. Or it seems like anyway. All right, so there we go. We got our cooler mounted, at least the radiator. Next, we're going to mount the actual block on the CPU, which we're going to swap out from the current LGA bracket that's on here, which just twists off. We're going to swap that for our AM5, AM4 bracket. And then this, actually, we can. I was wondering if maybe we could get it like this. Yes, yes, yes. There we go. Except I'm going to plug this in first. I have to deal with it after. And the thermal paste is on the bottom of the cooler. There's nothing to peel there. We're good to go. And then we just have these little thumb nuts that we have to use to secure it. Hey Leo, what's up? Ethan, what games are you gonna play with this PC? I think he's looking at several different games. I'll let him answer that question. Ethan is in the chat here somewhere. Last time he said in the chat he was going to mostly play League of Legends and plan to start playing some other games that he couldn't play on his old PC because they just couldn't run them. So he's really looking forward to this upgrade. And then if Ethan wants to add more on that, he can. Joe, you said you have a Ryzen 7 7700 gigabyte Aurora motherboard, 32 gigs DDR5 RAM, Thermalright AIO, 2 terabyte Gen 5 NVMe, and an RTX 3060. It's a nice spec. It's a nice build, sir. Nice. Yeah. Dogwater got the 4070 Ti. I want a 50 series once they get all the bugs out. Yeah. I don't know if the bugs are ever going to come out. It's just more likely going to be an adjustment on the software side. You know how it is. It was the same problems with the 40 series. The 4000 series, they had issues, and they worked the bugs out. The good news is you won't run across any old inventory sitting out there forever because it's all bought. It's all purchased. Unless, of course, you're buying used. But, all right, so we've got the cooler mounted, finally. We do have to plug in some things on the backside, but really all we got to do is drop a graphics card in here, plug that in, do a little bit of cable management on the back, and we can fire this thing up. Cool. So let's do that. And for the graphics card, you know, like I said, Ethan had to go in a dark alley and do a GPU deal. He picked up a used RTX 3070, which is, you know, what you have to do today to get a graphics card. So, he actually had a pretty good deal on this, so he got a pretty good deal on it. We made sure he wasn't getting ripped off. But it's very clean for used. Like, it doesn't even look like it's been used, to be honest. So, RTX 3070 going in. In one moment. One more thing I have to undo. Okay. Now, wait a second. We talked about the GPU support bracket and I completely forgot about it. We have to put this sucker in. So, let's do that before we put the card in, shall we? You know, it's what typically smart people do. It's probably bought by a GPU scalper. What do you mean? Thank you for the sub, Flo. Appreciate you. Flow is epic. Flows is epic. Nowadays, if you had to recommend specs to build a PC, would you recommend an AM5 or an AM4 socket? I would 100% recommend AM5 because of the support from AMD behind AMD is going to be until 2028. AM4, you're starting to see it's phasing out, but I mean it's still around and it's affordable. So if it's more of a budget build that you're doing, AM4 is going to be, you know, way better looking, and then AM5 if you can you know, swing 1400 or so. Oh yeah, people are scalping GPUs like crazy right now. There's nothing we can do about it though, except for buy all the GPUs and then resell them for MSRP by hand. I guess that's like the only way you could get around that, but that would take a significant amount of capital to do that, and I don't have that. Is it easy to upgrade 1 terabyte to a 2 terabyte? If Windows is on it, the answer is no, it is not simple. It's probably better to just start with the 2 terabyte, but you can add, if your motherboard has additional M.2 slots, you can simply add another 2 terabyte SSD and keep the 1 terabyte, and then you'll have 3 total, but it'll act like a separate drive, if that makes sense. Because then you'll have a C drive and a D drive. Do 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 do. Do, 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 do. Alright, there's our support brackets. Now we're putting the card in. Holy smokes. Struggle lining that sucker up. All right. And then this little bracket thingy is going to go down here and support the weight of the card. We just need a little bit of rubber support on here to adjust the size. Only thing we can do is not overpay from scalpers. Yeah, I know. Make them suffer a little bit. Make them sweat. Nobody's buying this. That'll be good. This'll do, this'll do. Force them to sell at a loss, yes. That would be nice. So you see this little bracket here sticks out, and then it supports the back of the card. So if the card starts sagging, it's just going to rest on that. So, good support bracket. Very good price on it. At Micro Center, they're like 12 bucks. Totally worth it. And it's discreet. You don't have this big dildo sitting here in front of everything. You know. That's a fat guy, yeah, and it's only a 3070. Well, I say only, but it's still a pretty badass card. Oh, how I miss EVGA cards. I know! They knew how to make cards. It's beautiful. Nice and discreet. Okay. So next we just got to get power cords here, and then we have a little NZXT hub to deal with, along with some of the NZXT cables from the cooler on the back side. Then we're ready to fire this bad boy up for the very first time. Don't let me forget about this front hand situation. I guess we're just gonna go straight up and out. I don't know. How that worked out. There we go. Couple of zip ties on these. And some snips. Guys, that was the first zip tie I used on this entire build. A lot of chats. By the way, all this specs, 97 or Ryzen 7 9700X, RTX 4070 12 gig 1 terabyte SSD, 32 gigabyte DDR5, 6750 watt for 1.6, a good price for it. Yeah, it's an okay price. I think maybe you could probably find a PC with 2 terabytes for that price, but other than that, you know, it's not bad. Nice build, looking good. If you find an EVGA 5090, you're being scammed. Yeah, I think there's only ever like a ref, what do you want to call it? They made a 4090, but I think they only made like 3 of them, and they were very prototype 4090 cards, or was it 30? No, it was 4090s. So it was like a prototype 4090. I think they did. Outstanding. Hey, thanks, Tim. Welcome back to the build show, sir. There we are. Just trying to keep these as clean as possible with the stock cables here. And I think we did a pretty good job. Yeah, looks good. Let's do some cables on the back side. Put the panels back on and fire it up. All this fun stuff gets to be plugged in. Got our NZXT hub to plug in. That's if my dad agrees. If you build me the PC with all these specs up there with a 2 terabyte SSD, I'll buy from you. Well, the problem is trying to find a RTX 4070, but I can. It's just gonna be a slow process, meaning we might have to wait a few days extra to get one in here. That's been the problem, is anything over like a 4060 Ti, it's been really hard to get lately. So, if I can get the 4070, I would definitely do it. If you go to the website and submit a custom build request there, I can send you a quote. Forgot about this USB cable on the hub, which sucks because now we have the large graphics card in the way. Then we'll zip tie. But it's not as bad as I thought it would be. Manageable. Here we go. Okay, now that everything's, for the most part, plugged in, we can start packing some of these cables down here and zip tying stuff. I don't know. This guy needs to move. Hey, what's up? Welcome. Thanks for joining the membership there. Thanks for becoming a member. But yeah, make sure you go to the website and submit that build request if you want me to take a look at putting together a quote for you for that 4070 build. You have an EVGA 3070? Oh, nice. Flo, you found a EVGA 5090? That's got to be a scam. Well, somebody took like a 3090 cooler and put it on a 5090. Then called it a 5090, EVGA 5090. Last little bit is up here. And honestly, I'm just going to pull this taut. Tie it up here. There we go. There's some cable management for you guys. Appreciate the work, Ben. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the super chat. Hopefully you like the cable management. Maybe one more zip tie over here. But for the most part, it looks as clean as it's going to get. Yeah. Nice and clean. flip it over and make sure everything looks nice on this side. Which it does. Like it. Everything looks beautiful. Except for the camera that can't focus. There we go. All right, so let's clean up the hardware really quick, and then we'll fire this put the panels back on, and then we'll fire it up. Sure, you're anxious to see what it looks like. We'll get the top panel and the back panel back on. And then I'm going to leave the glass off for the reveal. Thank you, Kenneth, for the $1 super chat. Appreciate you, sir. You didn't say anything in there. All right, Ethan, are you ready? Are you ready to see this thing? We'll have to adjust this camera just a little bit. I've got to zoom out. The last build I did was a little closer. And a little bit of a focus. There we go. Ready. Ethan's ready. Tat's ready. Everybody's ready. I see it. Yeah, you see my arm. You let me know when you're ready for me to push that power button, Ethan, since it's your build. Tell me to move that bus. Or push that power button. Waiting on you, Ethan. Good to go. All right. That's good enough for me. Hit it. See if Ben still knows how to build a PC. I guess it would help to take the sticker off the screen. Nice. We've already got a post, guys. That thing posted right up. Clean. we can't adjust the lights until we get into Windows and install the NZXT Cam software so that we can adjust it, but you get the idea. Looks amazing, Ben. Oh, thank you, Tim, for hanging out. Good to see you. Jesse, looks great. Nice. Yeah, NZXT is pretty clean, I will admit. It's pretty clean. The RGB lights are smooth. I do like them. I just don't like how they have to. You have to use their proprietary hubs. I hate that. Damn, that build looks clean. Yeah, it's clean. Super clean. I like it. Turned out nice. Yes. The FTPM, a question on the BIOS. W. Yeah, I'd say this is a W. It did post it. Any post is a W. I've had him not post on stream before. It's always kind of awkward. Yeah, Ben knows how to build. Oh, hold on, guys. Got to change the rainbow RGB though. Yeah. So we can do that with the EVGA Precision X1 software. Once we get Windows installed, I'll make sure the EVGA Precision X1 software is installed so that you can change the RGB on the graphics card. And then you'll also have to have the Corsair, unless it hands it off. I can't remember if it does hand it off to Cam or not. But you'll have to install the Corsair RGB for the RAM, and then the NZXT Cam for the NZXT fans, because that's through the Cam software and the screen. So you'll have 3 different softwares to control the RGB in total. We could go through that when you pick it up. I'll show you how to do it. But it's pretty easy. Nice. Well, there she is, Ethan. We got the build done. We actually finished a build before midnight this time. OpenRGB might be able to control all them. Yeah, I mean, that's always an option too. But I try, when I do a build, I only put the manufacturer software on there. So I could start offering to do OpenRGB, but I just don't want to like have issues and then people calling me, Ben, why doesn't this work? And I know the manufacturer software works. So my RAM is Corsair RGB RAM. Nice. Yeah, Corsair is pretty good stuff. I don't do enough builds with them. I've been primarily a G.Skill shop here, so mostly what I build is, you'll see a lot of G.Skill here, both Intel and NVIDIA side. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with Corsair RAM. It's pretty good stuff. Usually it's more expensive. But if I'm definitely doing a Corsair build, then I will definitely put Corsair RAM in there. So definitely. I see. Yes, you got to think on the business side. What is going to produce the least amount of calls in regards to support? App. Ethan deserves it, and even more with a technician like you. Oh, thank you. I think that's the nicest thing anybody said to me today. Yeah, we get a lot of compliments on the builds, so it's very uplifting. All your hard work gets noticed. Thank you. Trying not to like be in the camera. You guys don't want to look at my bad bod. But all right, guys, this was the build for the night. We have Ethan's build done. We will be doing another build stream tomorrow. It's going to be an interesting one. It's actually with a 4090. Customer brought in a system that was built by another shop, and they weren't very impressed with the work, so we're going to be redoing the build, and we're going to be pulling it out of the case that they put it in, because they put a 4090 in a case that you can't even close the glass on because the cable's in the way, the 16-pin high power connection. So we're going to be putting it in a proper case. for the 4090 that'll fit. So we're doing a case swap, and the cable management on this thing is atrocious. So you guys should check this out. See what another shop does, local. And they charge way more than me. So I guess I'm not charging people enough. But yeah, so we'll be doing that tomorrow on stream, and then we might be able to tackle another build. So we might try to fit in 2 builds tomorrow on stream. But looking forward to getting this groin hernia fixed, which my surgery is on the 7th. So coming up here, I'll be able to stand longer without squinting in pain. Because this groin hernia is very painful. So I'm looking forward to getting that solved so I could do longer streams and without pain. It would be nice. So sometime here after a couple of weeks in March, we should be able to do some longer streams and do multi-build streams, and getting back into that like we were doing last year. So thank you everybody for joining us tonight. I hope everybody has a great Friday, and if you guys want to catch another stream, we'll be building tomorrow, and then probably after that we'll be back at it on Tuesday. What's that? Rich people problems. Yeah, right. 24-hour build stream. I mean, as long as it doesn't hurt, I'm gonna do it. If you want me to. If some giant idiot gets the people to demand a 24-hour build stream, I will try it. If only you could build a PC while laying in bed. I've actually done that before, and it was terrible. I don't recommend it. Thank you. You're welcome, Ethan. You're welcome. Yep. But make sure you stop in tomorrow, and we'll be building again probably tomorrow afternoon. Worst case scenario, we start towards the evening, but I'm going to try to get started in the evening, or after. I'm going to try to get started in the afternoon, but knowing me, we might start in the evening, because I do have to run to Micro Center to pick up some parts and things. So look forward to tomorrow's stream. Have a good night, guys. If I don't see you tomorrow, have a good weekend. Thanks for stopping in and hanging out with us. Take care.